In this installment, we're going to be going over the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate on Draftkings between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for our Thursday Night Football Showdown slate on DraftKings between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints. But before I deep dive into this very, very intriguing slate, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetsJetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon. That's where you're going to get these crucial plays for this Thursday. We already have a future for the WNBA. We're waiting for that to come through. Obviously, we have the MLB playoffs going on right now. All that is in the Patreon if you want that. And the NFL Super Bowl future. That's going to be posted in the Patreon very, very soon. If you want those plays to get in right now and build up your bankroll, hop into that Patreon down below right now. And guys, if you're viewing this channel right now, because we are at 1.44, all right, the goal is going to be 2,000 for right now for this period of time. That's going to be our goal. Let's continue to push that subscribe button. If you're a viewer right now, currently not a subscriber, smash that subscribe button right this second. Before we get to the captains, we're going to look at the injury report. Right now, you're looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a few guys that are going to be questionable for the Thursday game. This is from the Tuesday injury report. The Wednesday one did not come out yet. So some of these guys we're going to be looking at to hopefully be fine for Thursday Night Football. On the Jaguar side is going to be Zay Jones. He's going to be a key component of this offense if he's able to play. He's been out the past 2 weeks, so he got a DNP on Tuesday. We'll see if things are going to trend up on Wednesday. Maybe he gets a limited in and he can be considered to play on Thursday. Other guys that did not participate was Walker Little, tackle, Brandon Sheriff, guard, and Tyson Campbell, cornerback. On the New Orleans side, this one is a little bit more hefty here. They doubled up, almost tripled the amount of injured guys. All right, DNPs on this side of the football is going to be Juwan Johnson, their tight end, JT Gray, safety, Landon Young. They're pretty decimated on that offensive line. That's going to be a factor here in this particular game. If they don't get some of these tackles or O-linemen or guards ready for this game on Thursday, that's where the Jaguars could feast. Ryan Ramczyk did not participate. Demario Davis popped up. He's a big factor here. DNP. Limited from Lonnie Johnson, Cameron Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu. Those are their starters. Chris Olave is fine. And Jamal Williams and Derek Carr, okay? But some of the top heavy here with DNPs on that New Orleans Saints side. Let's go into the captains, all right? So, moving on to the captains here. We're going to start off at the top. This type of showdown here is going to be a little bit more defensive and kicker oriented, but we're still going to start off with Alvin Kamara because of the volume he is receiving. All right, look at his numbers the past 3 weeks. He's been back, just getting a ton of usage running the football and receptions, an enormous amount of receptions here. So he's going to be bankable in each and every one of your lineups because he's getting rushing attempts and he's getting receptions. All right, this is a very strong run defense here in the Jacksonville Jaguars, so we're fine with that because Alvin Kamara can eat up in the receiving game as well, just getting volume. You're talking about 13 receptions in week 4 and then 7 receptions in week 6. So like Alvin Kamara as a captain play. Travis Etienne, he might finish as the #1 running back this year. He's really becoming a complete running back. Look at the past 2 weeks of performances against the Bills. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills here. 39 fantasy points, 26 on 136, 2 TDs, and he got 4 for 48 in the receiving game. This man is matchup proof, and Doug Peterson, coming from that Eagles offense, they know how to create 4 tight ends and getting their athletic and dynamic running backs open and get him into space, and he's looking phenomenal. Another good performance against the Colts. That was a blowout, so they didn't really need to play him in that second half, but Travis Etienne finished with 23 fantasy points in that one. He is going to be a stub that we're going to have in each and every one of our lineups. Those are two key components here. I'm telling you right now. Kamara, Etienne. All right. Now, I do have to mention Trevor Lawrence and Derek Carr. These aren't great matchups for these guys. I expect these guys to finish in the teens. Trevor Lawrence can have upside with his legs. That's why you can consider Trevor Lawrence at that captain spot. He's been pretty solid, passing the football well over 200 yards in the majority of his games. Can he get the touchdowns? All right. He's been getting one touchdown very, very frequently. He hasn't really broken out, have his huge game. But what's saving him is the rushing attempts. All right, 3 of 15 against Indianapolis, 7 of 31 against Buffalo, 8 of 42 against Atlanta, 5 of 26 against KC. That's what you like to see. If things break down, Trevor Lawrence is not shy of running that football. All right, Derek Carr, he's been getting there with volume. He had 32 of 50 in his previous game against Houston, and that's been a pretty solid defense so far this year. He's been having his two best performances in this year so far, even though he's been playing pretty bad. Obviously, he had that injury around week 4, but this is not a perfect matchup. This is the weakness of Jacksonville is going to be in that secondary because they're very strong against opposing running backs and running games. So that's where I see more yardage. I don't see really that many touchdowns, okay? So that's the key component about Derek Carr there. I don't expect him to go off, but I do expect him to put up around 250 to around that 350 in passing yards range. The question is, can he get the touchdowns? That's the only way he pays off because he can't run the football. He's not going to run the football. All right, as you can see. 2, 4, 1, 0, -4. That's not his game. He's more of the passer of the football. So we're going to look at some of these other guys at that captain spot as receivers that can pop off in this lineup build. So we're going to leave Derek Carr to the side. Some of these other guys we can look at. Calvin Ridley has a tough matchup here, but he is still a top-tier wide receiver, and he's been pretty off and on. We had one good game against Buffalo, and that was a very tough matchup. So the Calvin Ridley game could come at any moment, all right? Depends on scheme, how they're playing defensively. We do have, obviously, you have a top-tier corner on that Saints side that you can worry about in Lattimore, but Calvin Ridley has upside of going off. We can consider him in multiple of our lineups as a captain and or flex. You can lean on him in that scenario because he could go off and he could pay dividends in this type of lineup build because we're going to be saving salary in other spots, all right? So Calvin Ridley is going to be an option. Christian Kirk, he becomes a factor here. If Zay Jones is in, then we go back off Christian Kirk just a little bit because he definitely gets hampered when all the wide receivers are healthy, all right? But right now, Christian Kirk is receiving a nice allotment of targets here since this offense is just a 1-2 punch here with Kirk and Ridley, and then they also have Evan Ingram. He's been getting a nice allotment of targets. Zay Jones comes back, then you bump down Christian Kirk just a tad, but he's been really consistent. So stay in tune with that injury report. Make sure that these guys, that you confirm that these guys are in or out, and that's gonna help some like Christian Kirk. It can help him in his situation if Zay Jones is out, and vice versa. All right. Now, some of the pass catchers we can look at on the New Orleans side, we have Chris Olave. He's been okay. He's been okay this year. Hasn't really gone off, but he's seeing his allotment of targets. He just hasn't gotten in the end zone. Only 1 TD so far this year, but receiving 10 targets against Houston, 11 against Green Bay, 11 against the Panthers. So you see consistency there, 10 against Tennessee. That's why you would go with Chris Olave. He's getting the volume. Can he get in the end zone? All right. This is a tough matchup here against Jacksonville. But he's going to be a guy that's going to be getting the targets. All right. That's all we ask for. Last but not, no. We got a few more guys. Evan Ingram can be leaned upon because he is an X factor mismatch, and he's been very, very consistent all year long. All right. As you can see, double-digit fantasy points in 4 out of the last 6 games, double-digit fantasy points. Not a lot of tight ends are doing that. This has been a very poor year for tight end, and Evan Ingram is due for a TD. So this could be the perfect game here where he can squeak in the end zone because the New Orleans Saints defense is very strong secondary-wise. You got Evan Ingram working against smaller safeties and slower running and slower linebackers. Evan Ingram can create mismatches there. I like him at 5,800. And in this slate, defenses and kickers will be viable at the captain spot, okay? Kickers and defenses will be viable. So the defense I'm going to be leaning upon and in this type of game slate here is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. With all those injuries on the offensive line, I'm going to be leaning towards the Jaguars as my defensive play if I want to play them as a captain, all right? So you can say salary there and then you can fill in Olave. You can fill in Etienne Kamara. And then you can throw in a kicker in there as well. You can afford all that very, very easily. This Jaguars defense has been very good this year. They stymied the Buffalo Bills. That's why they got that win. And they destroyed the Indianapolis Colts. As you can see, they have 2 double-digit fantasy points games. And now going up against this hampered O-line in the Saints, that's going to bode well for them even on the road, okay? So Jaguars defense is going to be what I'm leaning towards in this game environment, all right? And for the kickers, both kickers are going to be viable. And this is technically the best matchup. If we look at fantasy points allowed to opposing kickers, look at the New Orleans Saints. They are 28th in the league. They're allowing over 11 points a game to opposing kickers. That means we will be playing Brandon McManus here. And on the other side, we'll be playing Group A on the New Orleans side. So both kickers are going to be viable in this matchup. Let's move on to the flex plays. For the flex plays, hey, you might think, hey, I said everyone. No. There's still some guys here that can be factors in this type of ugly game environment, all right? You just got to pick the right one. This is not a game environment where, hey, we're going to be scoring 48 to 50 plus points here. This is going to be a defensive battle here between these two teams. The first guy we'll be talking about will be Michael Thomas, all right? Olave is getting a ton of targets, and Michael Thomas is number 2 right behind him. Consistency here, 8, 7, 6, 9, 9. So we're getting a nice solid allotment of fantasy points here, right around that double-digit range for Michael Thomas. At least he's been healthy, all right? He has not gotten in the end zone yet, but at least he's been healthy playing in each and every game. That's a positive sign, and he always has upside to break out, okay? Next guy we'll be talking about, this is a punt play here in Rashid Shaheed because he's an X factor as a deep threat, all right? This is your Marquez Valdez-Scantling. This is your anyone that is your stretcher of the field, like a Darius Slayton, all right? Rashid Shaheed is going to fall in that. He had a big game last week because he had that 51-yard touchdown catch there. That was a big proponent there, and they're using him in end rounds and screens as well because he has that speed upside. So Rashid Shaheed is a punt play. If you're willing to take that risk, if you think he's going to be able to get a touchdown, that's why he's going to be a factor in this one. And then last but not least, on the New Orleans side, Taysom Hill. If Juwan Johnson is out, then you're going to expect more from Taysom Hill because he's that backup tight end. They also have Foster Moreau, but Taysom Hill, they're going to use him as a tight end. They're going to use him as a running back each and every week as you see the usage on both sides. And he saw a boost last week against Houston, 7 receptions, 8 targets, 49 yards. You know that Taysom Hill breakout game is going to come, all right? Last week was just a little taste. This week is probably going to be the game he gets in the end zone. I like Taysom Hill as a very, very sneaky play. He's going to be our favorite flex play this week. All right, in a very ugly game, you're expecting the number 1s to go off, the number 2s. No, it's just Taysom Hill coming out of in nowhere, playing in a wildcat formation, and he can run it in at any moment. All right, so I love Taysom Hill in this type of matchup here. Now, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I already mentioned Evan Ingram. I already mentioned Brandon McManus. If we're going any cheaper here, you're going to wait on news about Zay Jones, okay? Zay Jones, if he's in, then we will play him at this very cheap salary. He's going to be a guy that's going to be thrusted back in as a number 2 wide receiver on this team and be a big, big factor. Other than that, we are not going this low because we don't need to, all right? The cheapest I would go in this slate will be Zay Jones, okay? That's the cheapest. Maybe you can consider Foster Moreau because they're playing both of their tight ends, all right? If Juwan Johnson's out, they're going to be utilizing Moreau and Hill, but obviously Hill has more upside, just so you guys can understand that, all right? So the guarantees in our lineups is going to be these guys: Kamara, ETN, Taysom Hill, and I'm going to guarantee Brandon McManus as a big proponent in our lineup builds. All right, we got 2 New Orleans guys and 2 Jacksonville guys. Obviously, I love defenses in this type of game environment where it's going to be very, very defensive. But these are going to be our core 4, and then you can mix and match and play with these guys here. You throw one of these guys in the captain, fit another flex in there. But these are going to be the core 4. I believe they're going to have awesome games on Thursday Night Football, which is going to be a very ugly game, all right? So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MessageSD, and I'll be back with another video very soon, all right? Peace out, guys.